Everyone's favorite country cooking road trip stop, Cracker Barrel, was taken over by woke wackos who crashed the stock as they dropped the brand identity. Irrelevant, they called it, as they gleefully ripped the nostalgia out of the southern stores. Now, the woke Karen CEO is working overtime to save her career, bringing back recipes just in time for Thanksgiving. And a board vote that could send her packing. What a coincidence! So, what are the odds she stays or goes? Well, folks, we've got the completely shocking, frankly, answer delivered up hot and fresh, as always. Hello and welcome back, one and all. Thank you for heeding the call, for understanding what's going on in our culture. Keeping you ahead of the culture curve, it's what we do every single day, and we are so glad that you come our way. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you the poly market statistics on whether or not the woke Karen CEO of Cracker Barrel is going to stay or go. Before we go there, though, let's go to the New York Post by Chadwick Moore. Steak and Shake CEO dishes on war against Cracker Barrel and taking on woke. This is the guy who wants her job. Customers want authenticity, he says. Who is he? Well, let's talk about it. Stars and Stripes so towering, they're barely legal. Bitcoin burgers and Maha-approved fries. Steak and Shake's red, white, and blue blitz as part of its mission to make Americana great again. The patriotic push is also an extension of the Iranian board and CEO's own scruples, he tells the Post in an exclusive interview. American values and traditions, of course we are proud of that. Who wouldn't be? Sardar Baglari, the elusive Steak and Shake boss, told the Post. My family came here with nothing. I started with nothing but an idea. America is the best country on the planet. You can make dreams become reality so long as you put in the effort. Okay. So the guy who runs Steak and Shake, he wants to be the CEO of Cracker Barrel. He wants to oust the lady who's in charge of it right now. Okay. So he came out and told him over and over and over, do not do what you're going to do. And of course, you all know the story. Cracker Barrel revamped their menu. They put in the mimosas. They kicked out the old-fashioned lemonades and they brought in the mimosas. They probably still have lemonade, but not in the frosty mugs. So, and the woke Karen did everything that she wanted to do to change Cracker Barrel to make it look more like something you'd find on the Pacific Coast. Okay, so what's happening? As he is now waging war to get that seat by the proxy war that's going to be happening, and by the way, late November and early December is when we're going to get that decision made. Shareholders are being called together to make a decision on it. Out of restaurant business, here's the response from Cracker Barrel. It says, Cracker Barrel to step up training for kitchen staff ahead of holidays. The enhanced training is aimed at ensuring food quality ahead of holiday menu rollout, as the family dining chain works to recover from its logo debacle. This is by Joe Guskowski. Now, they're playing this off as if it's no big deal, but it's a big, big deal. And it's being rolled out by the CEO. By the way, Cracker Barrel brought in a damage control company, right? A PR firm, but not just a PR firm, a strategy firm, at least one that we know, to try to save this. Because for those of you who don't know, Cracker Barrel, when they did all this rebranding, some call it the blandification of Cracker Barrel. When they did that, Cracker Barrel bet more than half of their entire stock marketization, more than half of the value of the company on these changes, right? Cracker Barrel, I believe at the time, was worth something like $1.4 billion, and they bet over $700 million on the changes. So that's a huge gamble that the CEO did. Fell flat on her face. And we'll talk about how much it hurt the stores in just a minute. Hang tight on that. Kitchen workers at Cracker Barrel will undergo additional training as the chain prepares to roll out several new menu items for the holidays. The 660-unit family dining chain on Monday announced an enhanced training program for general managers, kitchen production staff, and grill cooks aimed at ensuring the quality of both classic recipes and new holiday dishes. But here's what you need to see. Look at this. Though it walked back both the logo and the remodels, and that they were serving cold food from the days before. They were reheating up the biscuits. They changed that real fast, didn't they? Though it walked back the logo and the remodels, the outcry took a toll on the chain's traffic. Transactions declined 8% following the logo launch in August and are expected to remain down by 4 to 7% for the next year. Now remember that Cracker Barrel has very slim margins. So when you hear that it's going to have 4 to 7% decreased traffic in their stores, that sounds like losses. By the way, we saw that there was a Cracker Barrel store, I think north of Memphis, that closed just briefly after these changes. You might see more of that. In an effort to right the ship, Cracker Barrel is refocusing on food quality, customer experience, and its heritage as a nostalgic all-American brand. it has resumed baking biscuits fresh daily. Well, la-dee-da. Like, who told them to stop baking biscuits daily? That's crazy. That's crazy that a place known for breakfast would have stopped baking biscuits daily. That's half the reason you're there. That's crazy. But they were focused on serving up margaritas and mimosas at Cracker Barrel. No, seriously. Julie Masino, the CEO, $700 million turnaround plan is what they tried to do. Gave up on it entirely. Entirely, even to the point that the ones that they changed are going to be restored. The trainings will ensure passionate Cracker Barrel teams are abundantly prepared to bring cherished dishes to life and directly to your table each and every time, the company said in a press release. So the question is, folks, why? Why would Cracker Barrel go to the expense of all the stores that were changed, putting them back the way they were? Why would they go to the expense of changing the billboards back to the old Cracker Barrel, redoing all the menus, bringing all the old recipes back, the way they made the food before, do that again? Why would they go to the expense of baking the biscuits freshly for the holidays? Well, because that's when the shareholders are going to vote on whether she stays or goes. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, Polymarket says there's only an 11% chance that the woke Karen CEO of Cracker Barrel, Julie Masino, will be out this year. Now, this gets a little bit more complicated because that could be a technicality. Because if she's voted out or if her board changes drastically at the shareholders' request in late November, early December, is she actually out of Cracker Barrel in that time frame? Right? So this could be a little bit higher. If you asked, will she be out in 2026? In fact, I would suggest it's a lot higher. So maybe it triples if you ask Polymarket about 2026. We don't have that data. But I want to bring this to you because I want you to understand something about how Wall Street works. And I'm not giving you any financial advice. But it's amazing to me. It is amazing to me that the CEO of a company that bet more than 50% of its market capitalization, more than 50% of the entire worth of the company was bet on something that dropped the store's customer traffic by 10% immediately. You bet more than half the store. You bet the farm on a donkey kind of decision, if you get my drift. And all it did was cause her to go up to a 10% or 11% chance of being removed the year that she does the decision. Now, again, it might be 20 or 30% next year. That is still, even if it doubles or triples next year, she still has a greater chance of staying at Cracker Barrel than going. There is listen, can you do that at your job? Can you do that? The only way this often works is you have to be so far above, and your politics have to be so correct above the everyman and the everywoman to get this kind of treatment, where you can literally roll out a 3 to 4 to 5 year plan that decimates your company and costs, untold amounts, and people will lose their jobs. But she won't. Think about that for a minute. We were told that they were holding emergency meetings with servers to tell them, hang in there, you're going to get through this. People will lose their jobs. The grill cooks, the custodians, the bussers, as they call the people who come and clean the tables, the trainers, all these people that can't be sustained if there's a 10% drop in customer traffic, they lose their jobs because you got to cut the overhead by 10%. Now, I'm speculating. I don't know that Cracker Barrel is officially going to cut those jobs, right? And I don't know that they'll have to announce it. But I'm just, based on my knowledge of how business works, if you got a 10% decline, you got to cut the 10% somewhere. And it always happens to little guys and gals. But Julie Masino, who decided that women wanted to go to Cracker Barrel, young women wanted to go to Cracker Barrel for their sparkling wines. But they're selling a lot of sparkling wines at Cracker Barrel, which is a restaurant on the interstate for road trips. Yeah, I'm sure people really want to get buzzed before they get back on the interstate. Geez, make it make sense. This genius did this, And despite everything she did to the company being detrimental, and then having to bring in a strategic firm to fix it all, and the strategic firm that fixes it all says, go back to what you were doing before you existed here, and they do that, and that gets her down to a 10 to 11% chance to be ousted this year. Isn't it amazing how this works if you have the connections? If you have the connections. Out of Restaurant Dive by Julie Littman, Cracker Barrel traffic nosedived after logo backlash. Visits dropped by 10% in the weeks following the chain's logo reversal, only improving to a 7% dip in the last week of September. In other words, this is long-term damage. This is going to last. And where are we looking at, folks? Actually, geez Louise, I think I've been to that Cracker Barrel. I think I know which one that is. That's in, that's in Florida City, Florida. Okay, all right then. Yeah, I know where that is. Because the home thing over there to the left gave it away. It's on the interstate. See the interstate on the right side? Yep, that's the interstate. Interstate, Cracker Barrel. Probably not the place to be serving booze. You're going to lose that one. It says Cracker Barrel's weekly year-over-year visits declined significantly during the week of August 25th at the height of the controversy. Traffic is down 5 to 10%. And the chain improved to a 7.2% decline during the week of September 22nd. Now, we don't have October numbers yet, right? And they probably don't want to give those. Why do they not want to give those? Because, again, there's a proxy war to determine who's going to be on the board and who's going to be the CEO. Last article to go. Michael Bartiromo out of the Hill. Cracker Barrel CEO explains reason for attempt to change the logo. Because, see, now we've got to retcon this. And it can't be because of woke. And it can't be because of what they said before, which was Cracker Barrel is irrelevant. They can't say that anymore, right? Because it wasn't irrelevant. They completely misjudged, totally misunderstood the market. So what do you do if you obviously are clueless about what your customers really want? You reframe it. You say, nope. Wasn't about what we said it was about before. Ignore what your ears heard us say last time. We've got a new excuse for it. So what was it really about? Julie Fels-Massino, the woke Karen CEO, president of Cracker Barrel, reportedly offered an explanation for Cracker Barrel's reasoning behind its ill-received logo refresh earlier this year. Massino, speaking at the 13D Monitor Active Passive Investor Summit, which just sounds like a great time. Wouldn't you have loved to have been at the 13D Monitor Active Passive Investor Summit? That sounds like just a party atmosphere. I hope she brought the mimosas. In New York City, said Tuesday that the redesign was an attempt to make Cracker Barrel signage more visible to drivers along the highway, according to the Wall Street Journal. She also indicated that the switch to a new logo was not the result of any ideological agenda, the outlet reported of her remarks. So the blandification and the removal of Uncle Herschel, right, which would be like the removal of Colonel Sanders from KFC, that removal, it had nothing to do, ladies and gentlemen, had nothing to do with when they said it's irrelevant, right? It had nothing to do with trying to grow their stores on the West Coast. Had everything to do, they just needed you, when you saw that sign that says Cracker Barrel, to be able to read the logo. Because I want you to think about all the times that you've been driving on your summer vacay, or maybe right now, and you're getting ready for those fall flavors. Bring out the sage, right? You're driving on the interstate. You look to the right. You see a billboard. It's brownish orange in color. You look at it and you say, honey, what is this strange restaurant I see on the side? And he looks and says, oh, if only I could understand it, my darling dear. Unfortunately, there's an old man in a rocking chair and I can no longer read the text. You know, because so few people actually know what Cracker Barrel is. Right? This is akin to McDonald's telling you they removed the arches because people didn't understand what the arches meant. And they couldn't read the word McDonald's because the darn arches were in the way. It's iconic. Everybody knows what it is. Who are you aiming for? Cracker Barrel, there is not a single individual who has ever looked at a Cracker Barrel billboard and said to themselves, darn it, I wish I could read that. Nobody has ever said that. It's nonsense. This is, I believe, the line that she has been given, prepared, so that she can say what it takes to get out of this whole woke nonsense. Ostensibly, but not intrinsically, right? Because fundamentally, they believe it. They believe the woke message. That's why they're involved in all this stuff with rainbow rocking chairs, and they believe all that. They're into it. So, what is this all to say, ladies and gentlemen? Let's go back to the statistics here. I don't mean to be the harbinger of bad news, or harbinger, depending on how you want to say it. But when it comes to Wall Street, they are incredibly slow to move when customers are moved to move away from ideology. So when you're wondering, how long is it going to take Disney to realize what's going on here? Cracker Barrel is a great first example of what we're going to see. I'm not here to tell you that she survives 2026, and we'll be paying attention to this. I'm not here to tell you that she's going to survive 2026, but when Cracker Barrel brought in the emergency response group to say, what do we do to fix this problem so we save our butts? It turns out it's listen, they did a darn good job by just saying, cancel everything we did and go back and say, we didn't do that. It's not why we did it. Oh, did we say that? Oh, we didn't mean it. That's the plan. And that's what happens at these big companies. Up until they go Sears level belly up. And Disney's not going to do that anytime soon. And I don't suspect that Cracker Barrel is going to do that anytime soon. But don't wait for a mea culpa from any of these people. That's not how the system works. It never has. You have to watch for the actions. And when Cracker Barrel reversed everything this incompetent woman did, what it was meant to say is the Wall Street aficionados, the Wall Street crew, the actually competent people have come in and we're going to fix this. And you, woke Karen lady, you're going to do what we say to do. And if you do so, you get to stay for however long and save face. But we're going to take this over. And I would, folks, to go back to Disney, because you love this channel for Disney stuff, right? I would just offer to you that that's also what has happened and is happening at Disney. When James P. Gorman of Morgan Stanley was brought in and placed as the head of the board, it's a Wall Street guy. He's a business guy. He knows, listen, when he was put there to be in charge of picking the next CEO, that's because Bob Iger knows what's up. When Hugh Johnston was brought in as the CFO of Disney, the Wall Street guy. The same thing that we're seeing happen at Cracker Barrel is happening at Disney. They're never going to say we screwed up and screwed up badly, because that puts them back into controversy. They don't want to do that. What they do instead is they bring in these big business gurus. They bring in the adults, the grown-ups. And whether it is Julie Masino or Bob Iger, I'm telling you, they might be the figureheads of the company. But Wall Street is taking actions on both of these companies to make some changes. Are they going to be the changes you want? Probably not. In the case of Cracker Barrel, actually they are. They reversed course on everything. Literally everything. Will they be every single time, though, the things you want? Probably not. Probably not. But the market has spoken. And Wall Street, despite the fact that they will invest in all kinds of crazy and zany things, they know that money has to happen or else their investments go out the door, out the window. And they're not into that. They're not into that. This is the way it works. This is the way the game is played. They send in the cleanup crews to fix up the blues of these companies after they make big-time woke mistakes. Julie Masino might stay. She might go in 2026, but looking unlikely she'll leave this year because guess what? It's the little guys. It's not Wall Street. It's not the CEO. It's not the CFO. It's not the CTO. It's the little guys and gals. It's the people cleaning the dishes. It's the bussers. It's the greeters. Those are the people in the restaurants. It's the cast members at Disney. Those are the people who suffer the consequences of the decisions of these wackadoodles who try to take a whack at changing their companies from the inside out. Folks, that's the video for today. And you know what? I hope you go away with a little bit of sunshine. I know that we ended there in a, kind of in the dumps. We don't like to see anybody take their lumps, especially not people who are working hard. But take some assurance that it does now appear that Wall Street is rapidly reassessing how to deal with woke completely, utterly. And you can see it in the statistics when it comes to the young people and how they're identifying now. I don't know if you've seen that, but there's a massive change underway. There's another issue at hand. We'll be talking about that in the coming days and weeks about how we handle some of these ideological views of young people in particular, i.e. regarding New York. We'll talk about that coming up soon. But for now, just know, it looks like you all, the market, we together have defeated significant aspects of what we were facing last year. And that is a cause for cheer, as well as them making the biscuits fresh every day at Cracker Barrel. You did that. All right, folks, like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts about all of this. And folks, until the next time, we have the joy, the pleasure, and the fun of spending time one together once again. Keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
I'm the ghost of Star Wars.
You know what would be a real treat this Halloween? Checking out WDW Pro.
His daily videos are a real treat.
Guys, I'm the ghost of Star Wars. Get it?
You know, we should go and make sure we're subscribed.
Guys, I'm the ghost of Star Wars.
And while we're at it, we'll ring that bell to make sure we're notified.
Great, let's go. Because, well, we actually care about that. Let's go.
Fact. Star Wars is not dead. It's haunting the staffs of Disney Plus.